I chose my mentor, Gordon Parks. I've kept Gordon Parks' picture in my office, every university that I worked at. I met Gordon Parks in 1971 when I was still in high school. The movie Shaft had just come out, and I met him at the premiere of Shaft at the Fox Theater in St. Louis, Missouri. I was familiar with Gordon through Life magazine, of course, and through his autobiography, the first installment on his autobiography, The Learning Tree. Gordon, at the premiere, I was a shy, teenager, and he was standing in the lobby signing autographs and talking to the press, and I walked up to him and I introduced myself as this little high school journalism student, and he answered whatever questions that I had, and then something just came out of my mouth. Can I have a phone number to keep in contact with you? And the man literally, he put out a piece of paper and wrote down his phone number. And we were tight from that day forth. Throughout my entire college career, working career, Gordon would critique my photos. He would offer advice. Fast forward when I was organizing my book, Songs of My People, asked Gordon to write the introduction to it, and he did. And the picture that you see is a picture of Gordon with me at the opening of Songs of My People in New York at the Metropolitan Gallery. And so it was just a long friendship and mentorship. Gordon used to call me, and we would get together for dinner, and we would get together for lunch whenever I was in New York. I remember him calling me once during the middle of the week. I was living in D.C. at the time, and I asked, and he called, and he said, "Michael, what are you doing on Friday?" I said, "I don't know, nothing important." He said, "Why don't you take a train up, because I want to cook dinner for you." I was blown away. It was Wednesday. I couldn't wait till Friday. And I took the train up, went and got two of the best bottles of wine that we used to share. And Gordon and I just sat and talked well into the wee hours of Friday night, Saturday morning. And he was showing me some of his advanced work and so forth. And so it was, that's why that picture means so much. Later on, when I was a faculty fellow at National Geographic magazine, I was out one day shooting. It happened to be Independence Day. And I saw this picture in Washington, D.C. that to me looked like Gordon's American Gothic that he shot back in the 40s when he was with the Foreign Security Administration. And that's the other picture that I have in my office, like the one of Gordon and I at the Metropolitan Gallery. So a tremendous influence on my life, professionally and personally. I was so sad when he passed. He in 2006, I believe, and it just happened to be spring break when I was teaching at the University of Mississippi, and I didn't even think. I immediately just got in my car, got the map to Fort Scott, Kansas, and I think drove 8 hours from Oxford, Mississippi to Fort Scott, because I wanted to be there, to really honor him in his passing. So, Gordon Parks, major influence on my life.
I'm Bob Rucker. I'm a former CNN correspondent. I've been teaching at San Jose State for 27 years. Quite a passion to be here. And I must say that being director of this school for 5 years was one of the highest moments because I got to lead one of the prominent programs in journalism that's recognized around the world for excellence in media education. That watch that I showed came from my father, who had it handed down to him from my grandfather, who came from a great uncle or so who worked in the railroad industry. And one of the things that the family tradition was, time controls the fabric of our lives. So be on time, but also look at time as a guide for the past, from the past to the future. Learn from the past through the times we've experienced, so that in the future you don't make the same mistakes. And most importantly, you can build on your successes if you are aware of where you came from. It's ironic, but when my father gave me that when I was a teenager, I hadn't really thought much about it. And then he kept it in storage, so I didn't think much more about it until later in life when he was about to die. And I gave it to him to say, "You sure you want me to have this?" And then he explained. He said, "Look at what you've done with your life." When he gave me that watch, he didn't know that I was going to open up a career in television journalism where time would be of essence. It would be the benchmark. It would be the demand, the pressure, the stress. All of it would come from time. But he said, remember the message. Learn from the past time. Use it in the future for the better. But time is your asset. Don't see it as your enemy.
My name is Emily Joyce Bruce, and the picture that you saw with me holding a diploma is the diploma I got from the University of California at Davis. The reason I'm holding that picture is because that diploma is because that is the symbol of my parents' commitment to education. I grew up in Sacramento, California. I was born in California, and my parents came to California from Texas and Kansas to have a better opportunity for their family. And their idea of a better opportunity was education. Their commitment was to raise all four of their children and send them to Catholic school. And when I was younger, my father would drive past Sac State and say, "You're going to go to college." And so by the time I got ready to go to college, I applied to the University of California at Davis, and not easily I got into that school, and I was successful. I liked it there. I enjoyed school, and I decided to stay there for an extra year, to which my mother said, "Yes, you can stay for another year, but you will have to pay for it." And so I did, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And when I finished school, I went back to work in Sacramento, working with children, much like my mother had when she was going to school. And then I realized I needed more education. And I went to the University of Washington in Seattle to the School of Social Work and got a master's of social work and came back to California. I got a job in Stockton, where I live now, and I worked for Child Protective Services. And I worked there for 10 years and decided that I needed to go back to school again. And I went to the University of California at Berkeley to get a PhD in social welfare. That was a challenge. I was older than most of the people there by about 10 years, but I finished successfully. While I was there, I was able to get a job at San Jose State as a lecturer in social work, and I became a full-time member of the faculty in the year 2002. I have enjoyed my stay and my time at San Jose State. It has been very challenging, very enjoyable. I love my colleagues. I love the students. The staff are amazing. That doesn't mean there are no problems here. There are problems. But the interesting thing about Silicon Valley, Santa Clara County, is that there's an attitude that if there are things that are problems, you can get them done. You can work on it. There is no such word as no. It's not now. How can we get around it? How can we fix it? And that's what I like about this campus. Don't tell anyone. But this job here is the best job I've ever had.
My name is Stan Butler. I am an associate professor in the Department of Kinesiology. I have been at San Jose State 27 years. I'm currently teaching classes in fitness nutrition, weight training, basketball. I brought along with me today what I like to refer to as my horse, but it's really my bike. I was actually got the spark of bike riding when I was a youngster, about 7 or 8 years old. A neighbor in my neighborhood who was 65 years old used to ride his bike through the neighborhood. He would always pop wheelies on his bike, and everybody knew that neighbor as Slick Ike. At any rate, I remember as a kid thinking, I want to be like that guy one day. So here I am, me and my bike, and we spend a lot of time together. Some of my best rides are the ride from home to school, 11 and a half miles to get to school and 11 and a half miles to go home at the end of the day. I don't think that's a whole lot when I think about a PBS special that they did on children from Kenya who would run 7.5 miles to school and 7.5 miles back home every day. So riding a bike, that's a lot easier, but it gives me an opportunity to practice what I teach/preach every day. And the two really are compatible. When you actually engage in a lot of the fitness stuff, you feel a whole lot better about sharing that with students because you know from your own experience it really has a lot of value for the individual. I'm currently, in fact, living in a community that has an average age of about 74. Very active people. And just being around individuals who have lived substantial lives, who are in their senior years, but they continue to live very active lives. Lots of individuals who come out and play tennis with us on a regular basis are in their 80s. And in fact, 2 or 3 of the people are in their 90s, and they still come out and they play tennis on a regular basis. I was born in Marianna, Arkansas. I was delivered into the world by my grandmother, who was a midwife. I grew up in Bowling Green, Missouri. After graduating from high school, I went on to undergraduate school at Culver Stockton College in Canton, Missouri. I played football and ran track at Culver Stockton College. Graduated from Culver Stockton, and I went directly from Culver Stockton to Northwestern State University in Natchitoches, Louisiana, where I earned my master's degree. After completing my master's degree, I went back and started my teaching career in Bowling Green, Missouri, where I grew up. I spent 4 years teaching at Bowling Green in the public schools, and at the end of 4 years, I accepted a job at Texas A&M University. So in 1981, I started teaching at Texas A&M University, and it was at Texas A&M University that I continued with work that I had started. My doctoral degree, I had started work on it at the University of Missouri at Columbia, where I had attended the University of Missouri for a couple of years. But when I accepted the position at Texas A&M to be full-time on the faculty, I went to school at night to work toward my doctorate. So when I completed my doctorate in 1989, that's when I accepted the position at San Jose State. I came to San Jose State in August of 1989, so I am currently in my 28th year.
I found this figurine while I was doing one of those perusals through a store that has so much stuff you can't see what's in there. There's one downtown on Santa Clara. And I came upon this statue. And I almost stumbled over myself getting it to the cash register because who finds a figurine of a black teacher? I've never seen one before. And so I had to have it. It was my price, $3.65, and took it home.
$3.65.
Yes, sir. $3.65. And I thought, what a find. I would have paid $300 for it. And I was excited because you don't get to see black teachers modeled anywhere. And I grew up in a school where before junior high, it was a traditional African-American community school. I don't like to call them segregated schools anymore. It was a community school in southeast Missouri, in what's called the Boot Heel, Sikeston, Missouri. And of course, we had black teachers. All of our teachers were African-American. It was sitting in the middle of the black community. And this represents my favorite teacher, Mrs. Agnes Maxwell. I had her in the 5th grade, and I wanted to grow up to be just like her. She always had her hair fried, dyed, and laid to the side. She always was dressed impeccably. She was stern with us, but we knew she loved us, so we worked for her. And so I would look at her and think, I want to be like that when I grow up. I want to look like her, you know. And so she greatly inspired me to teach. All of the people there did. We had teachers from Fisk, from Arkansas A&M, and also from Lincoln University at Jefferson City. Those are the 3 feeder schools. And what was such a great experience is that they lived in the black community. We were an extremely poor community, but the teachers were migrants. They came there for 9 months. They would find rooms in the community, and they would live there in homes, and then they would go back home in the summertime. And so it was a very intimate relationship because they knew our families. They went to church with us. You know, they saw us running up and down the street in the afternoon. And it would be kind of scary sometimes when one of the teachers would talk to my mother. I was afraid she was going to tell us something I had done. You know, so it was very intimate. We knew them. Our parents knew them. So if Miss Payton said Marquita was doing so-and-so in class, my mother had no question about that, you know. Because she knew who Miss Payton was. She knew where she lived. And Mrs. Maxwell, all of these people. Not only did they teach me in the classroom, but I also took piano lessons from 2 of the teachers. For a while, my mother didn't have money to pay for piano lessons. And so my homeroom teacher, Mrs. Scott, she asked me one day in homeroom, she says, why aren't you taking piano lessons? I said, well, my mom said, we can't afford that no more. We ain't got no more money. She said, where there's a will, there's a way. And if you want to take piano lessons, I will give them to you during homeroom class. I said, all right. So during homeroom, while the other students were supposed to be studying, I was taking the piano lesson. And I just made contact with a guy on Facebook who told me, I'm one of those people who used to listen to you play your lessons in homeroom class. He said, and I can't read music, he said, but I can play by ear. And I would play what you played that I heard in homeroom. That just blew me out of the water.
And how many years ago was that?
At least 50. At least 50 years.